Now the next speaker is Captain Prasanta Anthony. He has served the Sri Lankan Navy for 24 years as electrical and electronics engineer in varying capacities at many ships and establishments of the Navy. He obtained his first degree in electrical and electronics engineering in 1993 from the Naval College of Engineering, Indian Naval Ship Shivaji at Lonavala in India. He obtained his master's degree in defense studies in management from the KDU in 2005. He is a member of Chartered Engineers at Institution of Engineers in India and also a member of Institution of Engineers in Sri Lanka. He is currently reading for his PhD at KDU. His research interests are disaster management, information operation, network-centric operations, and maritime surveillance. He is going to speak on total maritime surveillance and integrated approach. Over to you, sir.
Honorable Chair, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I will be presenting a paper on total maritime security, surveillance, and integrated approach this morning for the next 12 minutes or so. The vision of total maritime surveillance is to be able to detect, identify, and classify all players in maritime domain within Sri Lankan EEZ. I will be delving into the surveillance within 24 nautical miles from land in this paper. Threats perceived in this zone are smuggling, piracy, poaching, illegal migration, and terrorism. The integrated approach is to achieve total maritime surveillance using variety of means and systems. Surveillance using coastal sensors, surveillance using fleet units, surveillance human intelligence, maritime intelligence, and through data from other government organizations such as Sri Lanka Air Force, Police, Fisheries, Coast Guard, Customs, UDA, and Survey Department. The main resource of maritime surveillance is coastal sensors. The targets which can be identified are merchant traffic by radar and automatic identification system, fishing vessels and pleasure craft by radar, AIS, day-night camera, and satellite transponders. Non-state actors such as illegal migrants, pirates, and terrorists by radar, maritime small target tracker, camera, satellite-based monitoring, and naval patrols. In order to effectively analyze and highlight suspicious activities, systems such as Common Operating Picture is utilized in advanced countries. For this system to be implemented in Sri Lanka, it is required to complete coastal microwave backbones, improve surveillance sensor stations, and improve communication between sensor station and command operations room. A COP is made by integrating sensor data to form a maritime common operating picture, which can be shared by naval headquarters, commands, and other stakeholders. Due to the complexity of system and the huge costs involved, the COP can be implemented with financial and technical assistance from countries who are interested in regional maritime security, such as India, Australia, China, and USA. Integration of sensors such as radar, AIS, and electro-optic surveillance system can be achieved using specialized hardware and software utilizing a map interface, where all acquired targets are indicated in the real time using dedicated symbols. These softwares are capable of data fusion and anomaly detection, thus enabling the operator to have a clear picture of the developing situation. In order to transfer information gathered by coastal sensors to a command center, high bandwidth, reliable coastal microwave backbones are required. Sri Lanka Navy has planned and executed northwestern coastal backbone from Colombo to Talemena, southeastern coastal backbone covering Galle, Tangol, and Panama, north central coastal backbone from Talemena to KKS, and proposed northeastern coastal backbone from Trinco to KKS and southwestern coastal backbone from Colombo to Galle will complete the network around the island. As you can see in the map, action is being taken to connect all important nodes, which will essentially cover all the major stations to carry out effective surveillance. It is important to improve sensor stations by replacing aging sensors, used more than 5 years, adding new sensor stations at southwestern coast, southeastern coast, and at gaps in other areas. It is prudent to classify major stations as naval maritime surveillance stations and minor ones as surveillance subunits and allocate resources accordingly to optimize operation. Naval maritime surveillance stations shall have 2 radars, AIS, camera, 24/7 operation with capable radar plotters. Sensors are to be remotely monitored at command ops room, power and lightning protection. Also, they shall have direct communication access to command ops room. And for surveillance subunits, it is sufficient to have 1 radar, only dark operation, and direct access to command ops room. The purpose of having 2 levels of surveillance stations is to ensure optimum utilization of available resources, both men and material, whereas the categorization is based on threat analysis on that particular area. The improvement to communication means of surveillance stations are to be achieved by ensuring secure RF communication between NMSS and COR, by providing CDMA telephones and internal telephones from Sri Lanka Navy Telecom Network, and data connectivity for internet, intranet, and naval IT applications. The second important aspect of total maritime surveillance is achieved using fleet units. Effective use of fleet units is mandatory considering the cost involved in sending a unit out to sea. Use of right surveillance patterns for the particular situation, use of onboard sensors to the maximum advantage, and concepts such as on-demand search coupled with continuous coastal surveillance can be practiced at designated areas. Digital migration and vessel locating system was implemented to give the much needed integration between fleet units where a command console can connect any to any. Automatic vessel locating system can be an effective tool in monitoring live deployment. Recording and playback facility can be used in many naval applications. As per the map, green areas were covered in phase 1 and repeaters at Tangol, Panama and Batticlo will be networked in phase 2 to complete island-wide coverage. The third aspect of the total concept is the human intelligence. This can be derived from fishing community, local community, other intelligence organizations of Army, Air Force, Police, and national intelligence agencies by way of meetings, conferences, and correspondence. A national level intelligence sharing system can take the sharing of intelligence to the next level. The fourth aspect is maritime intelligence, which can be achieved by various information systems such as AIS Live, where you get the path of a merchant vessel around the world, Lloyd's Registry Online, where you get all the data of a vessel with an IMO number, and various other free internet resources. Information fusion centers such as the one in Singapore can be a major contributor in gathering essential maritime intelligence. Monitoring of terrestrial and satellite communications using sophisticated high-cost equipment can yield much result at national level. The fifth means to achieving total maritime surveillance is by gathering data from other government agencies such as Sri Lanka Air Force with its air reconnaissance capability, police with the wide reach and vast human resources, fisheries department, coast guard, customs and survey department, etc. These information are to be fused at NHQ level and fed to commands and surveillance stations for proactive surveillance operations. The concept of total maritime surveillance can be summed up by this diagram, where it is a continuous and inclusive cycle which integrates all possible aspects of achieving effective surveillance. In conclusion, it is emphasized the requirement of funds for the projects related to maritime surveillance. They shall be completed with an established time frame considering the national importance. It is required that 5 pillars of total maritime surveillance shall be fused at a special maritime surveillance ops center at NHQ with dedicated staff. With that recommendation, I conclude my paper. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the Vice Chancellor of KDU, the IRC Chair, the Session Chair, and all the staff of KDU for giving me this opportunity to present my paper. Thank you so much.